The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome each of you to today's featured presentation, Your Brand, Your Future, Too Precious to Leave to Chance, brought to you by Catherine Byers-Bree. This is going to be followed by an additional presentation called 5 Powerful Points to Consider When Making Your Next Career Move. This is going to be brought to us by Gwen Sachs and Allison Baker at Thrivent Financial. I'm David Testerman with BrokerHunter.com and will be your moderator today. Before we get started with the presentations, let me take a moment to ensure that everyone is ready and familiar with the webinar control panel. First off, everyone should have a control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. You may minimize this panel by clicking on the arrow button on the upper left corner. You can also expand back out the control panel by clicking on the same button. Please take a moment to practice that real quick. Secondly, everyone is going to be in mute mode during the live presentation. However, you will have the ability to submit questions using the question pane located near the bottom of the control panel. Please take a moment to locate this section on the control panel. And remember, do not hesitate to submit questions you might have during the live presentation. We will be having a Q&A session at the end of each presentation, and we're going to try to get to as many questions as possible, time permitting. However, we have a record of any unanswered questions, so if we don't get to your question, there will be a follow-up, and these will be addressed by a member of the Thrivent Financial team. There will also be polling done during the live presentation. When prompted, you're going to see a pop-up of a poll on your screen. We'd love for you to participate and just select your answer, and then we're going to be sharing those results during the live presentation. So with the housekeeping items now taken care of, I'd like to again thank everybody for your time today. Before we get started with the first presentation, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Catherine Byers-Bree. When Catherine was little, she dreamed of becoming a National Geographic photographer. Cold calling was never part of her plan. So years later, when she landed her first sales job in 1997 and got her first taste of rejection, she quickly learned that it takes much more than just make 50 calls a day and the rest will happen to be successful. When she finally pushed through the pain of countless mistakes and found her own voice, Catherine was able to build a multi-million-dollar book of business. Today, as a successful business owner of Arruda, she's been teaching others how to turn their unique passion, skills, and talent into a personal brand that works. In fact, together, partnered with Thrivent Financial, she has reached over 10,000 business leaders, salespeople, and job seekers. So with that introduction, I would like to introduce everyone to Catherine Byers-Bree. The floor is yours, Catherine.
Thank you, David, and welcome to all of you. I'm excited to be here with you. William Arruda recently said, "In business today, your reputation is the only accepted currency." The short story is, if you don't manage your own brand, somebody else will. And so if you're joining us today and you're thinking that you don't have a personal brand, the reality is you do. And as you'll find out in a little bit here, there are people out there who are talking about you, talking you up, potentially talking you down. And we'll talk about how you can find out what your personal brand is, harness it, and use it to drive your business. So David, let's launch our first poll. I'd like to know, have you ever been asked, why should I buy from you? Some people, I'm sure, are asking you this question directly, but most people are asking you this question indirectly or not even asking it at all. So this is really at the heart of the webinar today, because this is the core in sales, really. Think about it. We all have stiff competition, no matter what it is that we're selling, and if you can answer this question with confidence, you will not only secure your current business, but grow it. So, David, you want to give it another little bit here? Or
yeah, let's give it about another 20 seconds here. We're giving everybody a minute to answer. We're getting a lot of good answers right now.
Good. Well, while we're waiting for you to answer that, I'm going to share my first experience in sales and how this whole thing of personal brand hit me between the eyes. Do you remember the days when you were given a desk and a phone, you were a rookie salesperson, and you didn't have a clue what you were doing? Well, I remember it, sometimes painfully, mostly with fondness because I was able to move through it. But so here's a desk and a phone. I was hired as a global IT consulting recruiter. And my boss said, make 50 calls a day and the rest will happen. And I believed him. But a couple of weeks in, I realized that that message just was not enough because I was picking up the phone and I was talking to people and they weren't directly hanging up on me, but they were getting rid of me pretty quickly. And as though that wasn't hard enough for me, my boss's boss's boss was an executive VP. We called her Scary Mary behind the scenes. And she'd bump into me in the hallway and I'd say, good morning. And she'd say, how many calls did you make today? How many hires do you have this month? And my blood would run cold. And that was not helping the situation. She was an old school manager and she thought that would motivate me to get on the phones. I was paralyzed. She knocked me down for a couple of hours, to be honest with you. And then my boss sat down with me a couple of weeks in and said, we really like you. We think you've got all the stuff to be successful, but your numbers aren't there. Why don't you go buy yourself a bigger car? Go spend some money. That'll motivate you. And I wanted to scream back at him. It's more than just the money. I'm changing lives. Because the reason I took a job in IT recruiting in those days was because I wanted to help people find their dream job. And I heard that in the hiring process and I believed it, and that's what was motivating me. The money thing just scared me, quite honestly. The good news is 9 years later, I survived. I found my voice. I found my personal passion and motivation. And I launched my own successful company, Arbez. We're still kicking 6 years later. And as it turns out, my personal mission and brand is a huge part of what drives my company's success. So David, what did we come back with that poll?
Well, it looks like the poll's closed, so let me share it with everybody. And it looks like we had most everyone answer the questions. And it looks like, have anybody ever been asked, why should I buy from you? And 69% of the folks out there said yes, they've been asked that. A few have said no. And then the remainder said no, but they're all thinking it. And then nobody voted. People always say yes to me, so we're talking to the right audience.
Great. Well, thank you. So, next poll that I want to launch is getting to the heart of why are you in sales? Because let's be honest, it is not the easiest profession in the world. It's rewarding, and the upside is huge, but it's tough. And it's been especially tough for those of you in the financial services business the last few years. So let's launch poll number 2. Okay. Why are you in sales? And there's no shame in saying money. Most salespeople, and I'm one of them, are driven by money. It's high on the list because it's a tough job. And money is a pretty powerful motivator. So if that's your number 1, great, but it may be some other things on this list. Independence, you want to control your own destiny, you love the hunt, perhaps you like helping people, or maybe there's something else. And if you click Other, I'd love for you to type in the chat bar and let us know what that is. It'd be fun to know if there are some other personal motivators for you. So while you're answering the poll question, I'm going to tee up the agenda for you quickly. Number 1, what is a brand? Number 2, what's a personal brand, if this is a new concept for you? And number 3, probably the most important question you have for me is why bother? Is it really worth it to pay attention to this stuff? Will it really make me more successful? My short answer is yes. I'll illustrate that for you in a little bit. And then I'll wrap it up with my 3 simple steps to building your own personal brand. So David, should we give him a little bit more, or do you think you've got what you need?
The polling is complete. Let me share it with everybody now. Why are you in sales? What motivates you? As everybody can see here, well, it's split pretty evenly between some of the groups here. 27% said money, 32% said independence and control. I had a few say competition, the hunt. 29% said helping people, and then we had 8% say other.
Well, if you're so inspired, it'd be fun for you to chat and let David know what your other motivators are. It'd be nice to share with everyone. So brand, if I say to you, what is a brand, I'm sure you'll come up with a couple of household names. Maybe you have some favorite products that you're really attached to. What is a brand? According to the pros, it is the personality that identifies a product, a service, or a company. It's a unique promise of value. So in other words, I know every single time that I buy Tide laundry detergent, it's going to clean my clothes and it's going to clean them well. So it's that promise that you can expect every time you eat there or buy your product or drive your car. A brand is relevant. So the best brands in the world understand who their target market is. Do other people buy? Absolutely, but they are clear on who their target customer is. Target Corporation, for example, knows their target customer is a mom with, I think it's 2.2 kids, young kids, elementary school age. That's their primary customer, and if you look at their branding and their marketing and their messages, it's pretty clear that's who they're speaking to. So just for fun, I want you to think about one of the most popular brands out there. People who drive Jeeps are fiercely loyal to that brand. And you might look at it and say, oh, it's because it goes in the mud. That's why they like it, because they can drive in snow. I live in Minneapolis, and I drive a Jeep, and it comes in great in the snow. But when I was a kid, I wanted a Jeep to be my first car, and it wasn't the fact that I would be safe in the snow. It was travel, adventure, fun. Those were the messages that I got from Jeep. And I thought, that is pretty cool, and that is the life I want to live. So if I buy a Jeep, I can have it. Let's take a look at another vehicle that is also very popular and has a lot of loyal followers, the minivan. So does that conjure up images of fun and adventure and freedom and friends? Probably not. But if you're the same target market as Target Corporation, you probably are attracted to minivans because they're safe, they've got a lot of room for your kids' toys, reliable, those kind of things that become very important to new families with young kids particularly. All right, so that's a company brand. What about a personal brand? What is different about that? What exactly is it? William Arruda has been recognized as one of the most notable personal branding gurus, and he says that a personal brand is a unique promise of value. It's authentic. It is your best self. Here's some of my favorite personal brands, taglines if you will. I love cleaning. I love dirty houses. That is on the business card of the woman that cleans my next door neighbor's house. And when my neighbor handed me that business card, I instantly laughed and I thought, you know what, if I'm hiring a house cleaner, she's the one I'm going to hire. Dream Home Hunter, Realtor. I make it go away. This is a controller whose niche is compliance and regulatory issues. I get it right the first time, an accountant. I help people get what they want when they want it. Financial planner. Dreamcatcher, another one of my favorite financial planners. So what's your personal brand? When people buy from you or send their friends to you by referral, why do you think they're doing it? Do you know? So let's launch poll number 3, David, and ask folks if they know what their personal brand is. And while you're doing that, I'm going to answer that question that's burning in your head, and here it is. Why bother? Is it really worth it? Okay, so far we've taken a fun look at Jeep and minivans and what a brand is, but it takes a little time to come up with your personal brand. Does it matter? Is it worth it? I'm going to share a couple of stories with you, Tara and Blake, and what their experience was when they finally took the time to sit down and think about, what do I do that's different? How do I compare and contrast against my competitors? Why do people choose to work with me? And they've had some great business results from it that I want to share with you. So David, do you need a little more time on that poll?
No, it looks like everybody answered that was going to, and I'd like to share that with everybody. And it looks like, a few people, about a quarter of y'all out there said yes, they know what their personal brand is. About half of you said, well, sort of. And the other quarter says, no, that's why I'm here. So good representation of all the different options there.
Good. Well, we'll plug along here on the why bother, where the rubber meets the road, really. So, Tara. Tara is one of the best high-tech recruiters in the Twin Cities metro area. She's been in the business about 10 years or so. So when I was brought in as a consultant to her company last year to take their recruiting organization to the next level, honestly, I looked at her and I didn't think, she certainly wasn't a mess. She certainly wasn't struggling to hit her numbers and be successful, but she felt there was something missing, and she definitely felt she could take it to the next level. So we did a couple of things together. One of them I'm going to recommend as I wrap up today, and that is she took the StrengthsFinder assessment and zeroed in on what her top 5 strengths are. We looked at that. We talked through it. She talked to a couple of her biggest fans and found that her personal motivators, her measure of success, and turned that into a tagline that fits. It speaks to her, it works for her, and it speaks to her target market. So her personal motivators, I always want to get to the heart of, again, why are you in sales? Why are you in recruiting? What do you love about it? On a Monday morning when you'd rather stay in bed, why are you getting up? For her, it's helping people. She loves the hunt. But she also likes to be recognized. She wants her boss to just pop in and say, good job, and keep on moving. So she is a team player. Her measure of success, metrics, hitting the numbers, they're important to her. Money, it's not just about closing a deal for her. It's about repeat customers, reducing turnover, quality service. And she said, honestly, how do I know I'm doing a good job? I know I am when I get those personal thank you notes from people, either handwritten or via email. She said, it's a pretty good indicator to me that I'm on the ball this month. So she took all of this and turned this into her personal brand and tagline. Your success is my success. Seriously. Now, if you've ever dealt with a recruiter, headhunter, whatever you want to call her, this will speak to you, because you know that that is a brutal business, and it's all about the numbers and speed. Speed, quality, and then price. And what that means is when you're dealing with recruiters, they're shuffling through a ton of phone calls, a ton of resumes, and it can be really easy for you to get treated like a number. This is really important to Tara, that she stops and breathes and works with everybody as an individual. And I tell you what, this is really important to the hidden talent out there. What she did with this is she put it in her email signature. She reworked her LinkedIn profile. She put it up on her bulletin board, and she had some crazy things happen in the next 3 weeks. Her new LinkedIn profile got so much attention from people who knew her and people who didn't, that she got 3 new hires, people that were not in her database, not in her network, that saw her and reached out to her. 3 new hires in 3 weeks. And oh, by the way, she also had a new client come to her and say, I want to use you to hire people. That's Tara's success. Now let's look at Blake. He also happens to be at a different company, another phenomenal technology recruiter. He worked for me years ago, but he's one of the best of breed, and his motivators and measures of success are a little different than Tara's. He is very much about those numbers first and foremost. On a daily basis, he looks at his phone calls, he looks at his hires, he knows where he is at any given moment. He loves toys, cabin, great vacations, fancy car, and he also loves that challenge. So his measures of success, like most salespeople, it's the numbers, money, new clients, repeat customers, referrals. But what spoke to him is different than what spoke to Tara. What really turns his crank is mitigating risk, uncovering the potential barriers to success for him, for his clients, for his candidates. So with him, there will be no surprises. And he's been saying this for years to people in a number of different ways, but maybe not as clearly as that. And by the way, he works both sides of the desk, so he does sales and recruiting. So yeah, he wants to win, and it's all about the chase. But the harder the client, the harder the job to fill, the tougher the candidate, the more fired up he gets. And quite honestly, it's where he's at his best. You want to talk about success? He changed companies shortly after we worked on his personal brand, and he was able to deliver 12 closed deals in his first month at his new job. There's only one reason for that is, and that is he was clear on who his customer was, why they buy from him, and he hit his network with new opportunities. So if you know anything about the recruiting industry, you'll know that 12 hires in any month is remarkable, but first month at a new company is really unheard of. So if you're sitting there wondering, well, what about me, and I have no idea what my personal brand is, I suggest you start with making a list of your 3 personal motivators and 3 ways that you measure your success. So same thing I did with Blake and Tara. Let's take a look at my 3 simple steps to creating your own personal brand. Number 1, define your brand. Why are you in sales, and why do people buy from you? That's pretty well the heart of the question. And then quantify it. Because as you well know, it's great to think about the emotional side of it and why you're in the business and why people buy from you, but if you can't quantify that measurably, then it's kind of moot, isn't it? You're not going to know if it's working for you or not. And then my 3rd step, live your brand. Own it, love it, live it. And I'll give you some suggestions on how to do that. Number 1, define your brand. So I asked you why you were in sales. Let's run poll number 4 and see why you think your customers buy from you right now. What is it about you and the way that you work with them that makes them come back the first time and send their friends to you? While you're answering that poll, I've got a couple of, another idea for you, idea for action, and that is pick up the phone, go grab a cup of coffee with 3 of your biggest fans. Your best customers are probably the place to start, and this time of year, what a great excuse to take them out to lunch, then thank them for their business, ask them what goals you can help them hit in 2013, and ask them why they buy from you, why they send referrals to you. Don't send them an email. Don't send them a survey. This is person to person. This is personal. It's business, but it's also personal. And if you do that, they'll be very open with you about why they came the first time and why they keep coming back. So, David, are we ready to show the results?
We are. Let me close this poll out. Looks like everybody's voted. And let me share it. Kind of some interesting results here, Catherine. Only a few people said they don't know why somebody bought from them. I was surprised by this number that actually so few people actually said they were referred by somebody. It looks like the main reasons why people are buying from our audience here is they listen to them, dig deep to understand, and looks like communication and responsiveness are very important. And then we got a few experts out there as well.
Good, good. And of course the expertise takes time, and so for you rookie recruiters, hang in there. You'll be there. But well, good. Well, I'm actually not too surprised by those polls because David, of course, most of the people that are joining us today are in the financial services industry, and in my own personal experience, I actually, well, I had to fire a financial planner about 10 years ago because post 9/11 I was living in South Africa, and I just wanted a 10-minute phone conversation to say, should I sit tight? Is there something that you recommend I do? And he just went dark on me, absolutely disappeared. So this communicate, listen, be responsive for me is very important. So I'm not at all surprised by this. But anyway, so again, idea for action. If you aren't quite sure and you want to get to the heart of this, go ask 3 of your biggest fans. I have another exercise that I want you to do here quickly. Just take a couple minutes and think about what is your key brand promise. So if I choose you, what will you deliver? What's that one thing that you deliver for all your customers? That is your key brand promise. Maybe one of these taglines appeals to you, maybe not. Might be fun to, once you come up with what yours is, just put it in the chat bar and David can share in about 10 minutes what some of those are. So while you're busy doing that, I'm going to talk about a couple of ways to quantify your brand. Why should you care and what's the value to your customers? So another exercise to think about is literally that. So when you're sitting down with your 3 best customers, having some eggnog together, ask them not just why do you work with me, but what's the value that I bring to you? And just dig deeper with them. So I want you to think about what's the value to your clients, but you also, unless you run your own business, you are your own company like me, if you're working for a company, you need to think about what's your value to that company, because your message, your personal brand does need to consider that as well. So what's the value to the clients? What's the value to your company? They're all very closely aligned. And then third, back to your personal motivators, what's the value to you? Why do you deliver over and over and over again that key thing to your customers? Recommended homework, if you're still struggling with all this or you want to take it to the next level, an exercise I do with people that's one of the most insightful for them when they're working on this on their own is think about some of your proudest sales moments. If you've ever heard of STAR stories or PAR stories, it's an acronym for a method of capturing a story really briefly, clearly, concisely, 30 seconds or less. So what was the problem? What was your customer's problem, situation, or task? What action did you take for them? And what were the results? So again, we're looking to quantify your brand. What were the results? And if you think about this proudest sales moment, I think you'll find it's a lot easier to kind of get in touch with why people buy, what makes you special, what makes you unique. While you're thinking about that, we're going to move to step 3. I want to make sure I leave time for Q&A today, so if you feel I'm moving fast, don't worry. David's recording this, and it will be available for future playback on these ideas and recommendations. But let's talk a little bit about how to live your brand. Once you find your voice, you can turn it into a tagline, a signature, a new LinkedIn profile. How do you live your brand? One of the biggest challenges for salespeople is answering that question. Actually, it's a challenge for anybody in life, really. And it's happening a lot this time of year at holiday parties, meeting a lot of strangers, and they say, so tell me about yourself. How are you answering that question? What do you say to people when you're shaking hands, when you're making your cold calls, when you're following up on referrals? What is your 30-second pitch? If you don't have one, get one. When I was a rookie recruiter, struggling, my boss sat me down. He tried a lot of different things with me, by the way, and one of them was he said, you need a script. You have to have a script when you're making a phone call, and I pushed against that. I said, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir, and I wrote one out, and I went off my script all the time because to me it felt canned, artificial, cold. It isn't. It is one of the best ways for you to control your brand, control your message, and make sure that you're really resonating with people. So here's a template that you can work with, your name, your area of expertise, and what do you really do? What do you really do for people? So if you've been hitting the streets and just saying, I'm a broker, I'm a financial planner, and you stop there, I'm telling you that's not enough. People will shove you in a box and attach to it all of the brands and images and ideas that they have attached to that job title. You don't want that. You want to give them something else to sink their teeth into. So what do you do? And then give an example. So for instance, I recently blah, 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 and give a real example of what you did for somebody. I can think about a financial planner that I've been working with for the last 4 years. He's actually with Thrivent, who you'll hear from in a little bit here about things to consider in your career, but he has done some incredible things for people in career transition. You know what it means when somebody loses their job. They've got 401k issues, they've got income stream issues, all sorts of things. And I'll tell you that I had somebody come up to me on Tuesday. I was speaking somewhere in town, and she ran up to me and she said, I just have to thank you for referring me to Brad. I was completely freaked out about losing my job. I thought I was going to lose my house. I walked away not only knowing that I am so far away from losing my house, I also have an opportunity to make some money and do some different things with my portfolio right now while I'm looking for work. So what's your proudest story? What is something that you can share really briefly here to help people understand what makes you different? Passion. Passion sells. If you don't believe me, turn on the television. Watch 5 commercials. They're selling a product, but they're selling it with passion. They're connecting with people on an emotional basis. So what's your passion? Share it with people. So where will you live out your brand? We're going to launch our 5th poll here. What are you going to do with what we talked about today? What are some places that you want to start telling people what makes you unique and sharing it with them. Be fun to see what you think you're going to do when we hang up the phone today and where you think the most value will be to you in your business. So while we're tallying those results, I'm going to wrap up with my key lessons for today and ideas for action. So a couple of key lessons. Number one, if you do not manage your brand, other people will. It's that simple. You don't think you have a personal brand, you do. And if you don't figure out what it is, you won't know how it's impacting your business. Second key lesson, why and how you sell. It is personal. It's personal and unique. Third lesson, your brand is your key promise to your customers and to others. Fourth message that I hope you take away today is that if you take the time to harness your personal brand, it will increase your success. I mentioned Brad briefly, and I can tell you I've done over 150 workshops with him in the last 4 years, and I've had the pleasure of watching him find his voice and find his brand. And he went from being a really solid performer to a President's Club winner, a top performer at his company. So, and it's all about him finding that thing that he does and the thing he does differently. And lastly, it's easier than you think. It really is, to find yourself, find your voice, and take it to the streets. So a couple of ideas for you to help you get at your personal brand. Recap, figure out your motivators, measure of success, talk to 3 of your biggest fans, proudest career moments, think about those. But you're about to hear from Gwen Sachs and Allie Baker at Thrivent. They've got some really cool tools on their website. One of them is a values and action exercise. Go take it. As I think back to the why you're in sales, a lot of you are in it because you like helping people, you like independence and control, money. This values and action exercise is going to help you get really clear on your motivators. A couple of books that are my favorite on this topic. Career Distinction by William Arruda and Kristen Dixon. And I've mentioned StrengthsFinder. I'm a huge fan. So there's StrengthsFinder 2.0, and then there is strengths-based selling, which you will really appreciate because it talks about the different flavors of salespeople and how they can harness that and their top 5 strengths to really take it to the next level. There is a free assessment, personal branding assessment by William Arruda out there, the Reach 360 assessment. It's fun. It's powerful. You essentially ask your network to give you feedback on who you are, what they think about you, and it can give you a really fun and clear look at your personal brand. So with that, David, did we have anybody share their personal talent statements with you?
Not yet, but we've got a lot of questions, and let me share the last poll here with you. It looks like everybody was listening here, Catherine. So 62%, an overwhelming number, said they're going to live out their personal brand everywhere.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Well, if you feel like it, you can share your personal talent statement by typing out your message to David. But let's take some of those questions. What have you got for me, David?
Yeah, sure. Looks like from the questions we have here, Catherine, that LinkedIn's certainly a hot topic. Question number 1 is someone's asking, they're not really sure how to start with LinkedIn or how to use it well. Where's the best resource to go for answers?
There are actually some excellent resources out there. LinkedIn itself has some great short video tutorials to help you get started and set up your LinkedIn profile. So if you're not out there yet, I'd go straight to linkedin.com and watch their recommendations. We actually, Thrivent and I together did a webinar on getting LinkedIn lucky about, I think, 2 months ago. And Gwen's going to tell you a little bit later where to find it, but it's at thrivent.com/career/your-next-career. And you can go out and watch that. Yeah, I was the speaker, but we've gotten such great feedback from people on that one. I think you'll find it really helpful. It's geared toward not just putting out a profile, but really capturing what makes you great so that other people find you. And talk to people. I tell you what, when you get out there, if you see a profile you like and there's somebody in your network who you think is just rocking it with LinkedIn, pick up the phone and call them. Ask to buy them a cup of coffee and ask them to help you beef up your LinkedIn profile.
That's great. I think that's a good starting point. Here's an interesting question, actually kind of a 2-part one from 2 different people, but they kind of marry well together. Question number 1 is, how do I use my personal brand and my company brand at the same time? And then the second question that ties into this is, what do I do if my personal brand conflicts with my company brand?
I have been there. I tell you what, I'll take the easy one first, and then I'll attack the second one about what to do if your personal brand conflicts. So how do you use your company and your personal brand? When I'm working with people, I'm going to talk about LinkedIn because I think it's the best and easiest illustration. Think about LinkedIn and your summary section. I encourage people to open that up with their personal brand. So it might be a tagline, might be a quote from one of your biggest customers, what have you. Second paragraph, you, in just 2 or 3 sentences, talk about what you do for people. So number 1, I love quotes there. It works really well, or your tagline. And then number 2, flesh it out a little bit, maybe even give an example. I think it's a great space to say, for instance, recently I boom, boom, boom. Then that third paragraph is where you want to represent your company. And if your company has not yet engaged and helped you with social media and how to use that in your business, you probably want to reach out to them. In fact, I highly recommend it, especially if you're in the financial services business. Reach out to corporate and get their guidance on the company brand and what messaging they want out there. Grab that, throw that out there as your third paragraph, and you're off to the races with LinkedIn. On your email signature, your personal brand can be as simple as a tagline. So those are 2 ways to really marry those up. And you know, just start. Just put something out there and see what kind of feedback you get, see how you feel about it. Don't wait for perfect. This is it's a journey, and it's a work in progress. And again, I've been at this for years, and I'm always sort of tweaking a little bit here and there. So that's how to marry up personal with company. Now, the second part of that, David, is a tough one, but it is real, and there are so many salespeople feeling that. What if your personal values and your personal brand conflicts with your company brand? I'm going to translate that into what I experienced at a company in my career, and that is they were a global top-performing company, but I tell you what, they didn't treat people like people. It was all about the numbers, and they were making some decisions. I worked really hard to build my reputation and my network and my business, and I would bring somebody in based on my recommendation, and then they would get treated poorly by my company, and it was excruciating. And it didn't just affect me at work, it affected my home. It affected my home life. You carry that stuff home with you on your heart, on your head, on your shoulders. So if you're really unhappy and it's a clash of values, my short message is get out. You need to get out. No fingers pointing. Different fit, different place. Some people will be happy there, but get out. Allie and Gwen are going to give you some 5 things to consider if you want to make a move. But if it's a little bit more gray than that, and it's not as harsh as my own experience, and you're just not sure that they match up, go talk to your marketing department, talk to some of the top performers in your company, ask them what that company brand is all about, and I think you may find that it's not as far off as you think it is. What else have you got for me, David?
I think that wrapped up kind of the pertinent questions for now. We'll certainly leave that question bar open, and if anybody has any additional questions or any pop up while we're doing the other presentation, please feel free to ask them, and we're going to do Q&A again at the end of Gwen and Allison's presentation.
Perfect. Well, I tell you, that last question is actually a wonderful segue into the presentation that Gwen Sachs and Allie Baker with Thrivent have for you on 5 powerful points to consider when making a career change. Before I introduce them to you, though, I just want to tell you a little bit about my experience with Thrivent. It's been a tough few years in the financial services industry, and it's been just a tough space for anybody, and I do a lot of work on educating individuals, companies on career transition, and I have done, sponsored by Thrivent, over 150 events out in the community because they care deeply about people. They put people before profits. They were recognized as one of the most ethical companies in the world last year, and it's just been a real pleasure to work with them. And I already shared a story about a real person that came bouncing up to me, unsolicited advice and feedback about working with one of the financial planners at Thrivent. So hang in there. Listen to what Gwen and Allie have to say to you, because they don't just care about their business and about people, but they have reached out into the community to help people make smart career moves, and they've put together a presentation for you today, which is really powerful. So here we go. Gwen Sachs, Allie Baker, take it away.
Thank you, Catherine. Thanks. And my name is Gwen Sachs. I'm a career marketing consultant here at Thrivent Financial, and I've had the pleasure of working with Catherine this entire year, and it's been really a great experience, and she is a wealth of information. With me today is Allison Baker. She is also with Thrivent Financial for Lutherans, and I'm just going to have Allie just say a few words about what her background is with Thrivent. Allie?
Yes, actually, I thought I'd share. I've been in the industry and been in field sales for over 12 years, including 8 years of recruiting and hiring experience. I hold my 766. I'm with life, health, and annuity insurance licensed, and I just think finding the best match for you is crucial to career enjoyment. So by the end of the portion of this seminar piece today, you should be able to create a matrix of criteria using these 5 powerful points to determine which organization is a match for you. And so it really fits well with what Catherine was talking about, and I'm excited to share that. So let's dive in.
Fantastic. So let's just dive into those 5 powerful points. So the first one is about selection. So what people should consider here, Allie?
Yeah, in my experience, I've been in multiple organizations, and I would say how an organization answers this question can be a real strong indicator of the culture, going back to the last couple questions Catherine had. So is there a thorough defined process? Is there a number of interviews with them to learn more about you, because you want them to know just as much about you as you learn about them? Are you able to speak with several people? Is there a trainer? Is there a support person to speak with? Is there someone that's currently in the role? And then also within the industry, a lot of us know there are online assessments that are completed. And how are those measured? What tools and tips are they taking from that, or are they just looking at that as a yes-no indicator? So look for honesty and candid feedback through the process. You want to know if it's a good or bad fit, and if you're in the middle, and kind of gather more information. As we go through the 5 points, I'll share a little bit about Thrivent. Thrivent's passionate about selecting the right person at the right time in his or her career. And our goal is really to make sure that it's a win-win-win for the client, for the organization, Thrivent, and also for you, because if we don't have the right person on the role, then it's not going to be a match. So determine if selection is the right fit for you.
Sounds good. So let's move on to point number 2, which is training. What can you tell us about this, Allie?
This is something really important to consider, because it's unique to each person. So consider what is best for you. Is there computer-based training, on-the-job training, classroom training, joint field work? Also, are you assigned a coach to help you? All these things are going to really be layered effects in how your training program is being provided. And so discovering what type of training is being provided through the selection process is extremely important. And Thrivent uses all these things. And in the coaching role, we utilize a regional partner who really personalizes the training beyond the classroom and computer-based training to make more of a blueprint for success for someone entering the career. So that's what I would have to say about training, the second piece.
Awesome. So let's just talk a little bit about this third point here, and that is about mentorship. What should people consider here?
Are there mentorship opportunities available, period, is a good question to start with. And I think you really see a lot of organizations offering that. But there's a real variety of styles. And in successful positions, you really need to understand what's going to be the best for you. So viewing a lot of different cases, for example, a veteran with success, shadowing that person, or understanding if there's study groups or case prep time that you can sit down and work with someone, building a best practice forum to share those best practices, and joint field work really drives the business's success throughout. I think the role of the regional partner with Thrivent actually goes beyond training, and in that mentorship capacity, they team with our representatives as well as connect our new representatives to work with veterans to really provide a varied approach to the work at hand. And I think considering mentorship and if it's a match for you and hand-holding is really going to be a key indicator, one of those powerful points to consider.
Great. Point number 4 is about systems and accountability. What should we think about here?
I always get a kick out of this because when I go through this, I speak with a few different groups and talk about systems and kind of a bit of a snore of a topic. What systems are in place, but I do think with all of us, we know that having systems in place and established measurements and goals really can share and build that success for the future. If you look at the past, you can find the future. So using the tools and systems that an organization can provide instead of creating them on your own will really guide you to that success in the future. Like I said, personalizing based on your needs. You can look at software, statistical data, benchmark information. Like many organizations, you can kind of hear groups talking about Salesforce. That's a tool that Thrivent uses to track those key indicators. And setting targets with the organizational goals and the personal goals in mind is really what you're going to want to ask around the systems and accountability. So making sure that your personal needs are being met and that you can achieve those goals that are set by the organization, that it's not a washout system.
And what exactly does Thrivent do with systems and accountability?
We really focus on personal brand and blueprint. So when we look at building a business plan, we're going to not just dive in and say, call a list of people. It's more about who do you want to focus on and how are you going to get there. So using the regional partner system, they really set those goals that are organizational and personal and keeping them in mind when driving those goals.
All right, and so that last point is actually about niche market, and this is really important when you're in a sales position. So what can you say about niche markets?
Yeah, and I think Catherine did a great job. She always does on sharing why personal branding is so important. The quote I take from Catherine every time I hear her presentation is, if you don't manage your own brand, somebody else will. And that's kind of the last question that was brought up too, is with your personal business plan and your personal niche, that's how you can stand out. So identifying and having a supportive group that identifies that throughout the process, through selection even into the launch process, identifying those target audiences and building on an organization's niche market, understanding the organization's history, understanding its philosophical base, its focus for the future, its vision. Those are things that are going to be so important in identifying if it's a match for you and even considering, should I stay at the organization I'm at or look at a different one? What I can share about Thrivent is the nation's largest fraternal benefit society, and our advisors really have an opportunity to help members strengthen their lives and the lives of others. So at the same time, they have some unique opportunities as a fraternal benefit society to make a difference in the community, locally, your own community, your own connections, but also throughout the world. And that kind of leads into the 5 powerful points here. So when we talk about looking at a matrix, easy enough. It doesn't have to be hard. Think about the 5 points and rate them on a scale from 1 to 5. Thrivent, I already started kind of a list there because we covered a few of those things, but selection, training, mentorship, systems and accountability, and the niche market are all kind of the core areas that you want to look at when you consider making your next career move. And I really recommend taking the time to just draft it out so you can know with your heart and your mind that you're making the right decision for you and your family and the community around you. I get a little excited about this. I don't know if you can tell, Gwen.
Yeah, this is actually going to be a really good tool. I think people just need to sort it out and see what's really important to them. So, you were talking a bit about niche market, and I think this is a great time for, our listeners to just learn a little bit more about Thrivent Financial because we are such a unique organization. So, Allie, did you want to tell the listeners a little bit more?
Sure, yeah. And I think going through some of this information will actually start kind of getting your mind in that set to fill out the matrix. Thrivent, you can see here our mission statement is listed. We're a faith-based membership organization helping members be wise with their money and inspiring them to live generously. So we're really on that relational level and helping people succeed and thrive. And that's where, obviously, the name Thrivent Financial comes from. We want to help people be trustworthy and act like the owners are members, our members are our owners, which which they are, and also live balanced and generous lives. Because if you're not in a career that matches your lifestyle, then it's not going to be a match for you. And really, Thrivent takes that to the next level. I get excited about that too. With Thrivent being a not-for-profit organization, we're the largest fraternal benefit society, which, Gwen, I'll let you kind of go into what a fraternal benefit society is, but we're membership-owned. We're values-based, as I mentioned earlier. So we're really making decisions around what's best for our members. We're not honoring or going back to Wall Street to make those decisions. We're looking at our members and taking advantage of their decisions and choices that they're making. So a fraternal is a rare organization, especially at this level. We're the largest, like I said, in the country. And it's pretty unique. Gwen, do you want to share some more data regarding Thrivent on that?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. And, for people who don't understand what a fraternal benefit society is, originally they were formed so that people with a common bond, which was typically religious or occupational in nature, could really help one another out when tragedy struck their community or their family. And you'll actually see this in action at Thrivent. Our members actually meet in chapters, and they participate in a lot of educational, social, and volunteer activities. So they actually are able to connect with one another, strengthen their community and congregation. And the point about the unique ability to give back to the communities, we have that opportunity to give back because we actually have a tax-exempt status that allows us to do that. The dollars that we would otherwise pay in taxes on any of the products and services we provide are actually able to be directed back into the community to support, people in need. And in 2011, we're proud to say that we provided $175 million in outreach in communities around the United States. We also had 10.8 million volunteer hours by our members in 2011.
Yeah, and it's really something that people really get excited about. They get engaged in that. And in fact, when we talked just on the fraternal side of things, with Hurricane Sandy, there was such a response from our members that Thrivent oftentimes matches the dollars that our members give to go to causes such as Hurricane Sandy or Habitat for Humanity. But beyond being that fraternal benefit society, we are recognized for our strengths. You can definitely see the ratings here. We are only one of 10 out of 1,000 insurance companies that have been recognized with the A++ superior rating. And we just are recognized for doing the right things and keeping our company strong. 18 years on the Fortune 500, you can look at that. And we've continued to prosper through this financially difficult time in our country, and we're continuing to grow. And if you look at the next slide here, you can see that we've had that continual growth in the tough economy. 5% growth over 2010, and in fact, from 2008 and beyond, we've had that growth. It's kind of been continuous, and I think it goes back to the organization's values. We're not making decisions that are going to be risky for our group, and this shows just the life and health and annuity insurance sales, but we're beyond that. We are a comprehensive planning organization. You can see that on the next slide. We have all kinds of product services. We're definitely going to be able to cover anything that a client needs, from estate planning to endowments. We're making sure that beyond the products and the services that they're having a full plan put in place. We're going to talk about what their values are and take that to the next level too. So Gwen, do you want to share a little bit about the culture? I know you talked about the fraternal side of things.
Right.
And actually, I think Catherine mentioned this a little bit too.
Exactly. I mean, we have a great work culture. We're really proud to be selected one of the world's most ethical in 2012. I mean, this is a really great, prestigious award. You know, internationally, only 145 companies were actually selected for this award. And interestingly enough, there was only 5 financial service industry companies that were selected. We were one of them. And we are actually the only one that serves customers, or in our case, members, directly. So we're really proud of the way that we actually do our business and treat our members the right way, and obviously it's been recognized. In addition to that, we've actually been named a top 100 workplace in 2012 by the Star Tribune. So we've actually had that award several years in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when you're looking at your matrix, you want to consider the hard data. You also want to consider what reasons that you're looking at. So maybe go through those points of brand issues and see if they match, just like Catherine had mentioned. But look at why you've chosen this reason or industry for a reason. Catherine's survey talked about money, independence, being able to be in control of yourself and competition, and also helping others feel more secure about their financial future is really a driver for a lot of people. So multiplying that and taking that to the next level. And as you can tell, I'm enthusiastic and very passionate about this. I actually left Thrivent and came back because I missed the environment and just the way that we could interact with a non-transactional approach to our clients. And it's all about doing what's right for our customers, and our customers are our members. So it's very rewarding in personal life and also, financially as well.
Yes, and I can vouch for that as well, Allie. I've been with the organization for 5 years, and it's an excellent place to be. So I wanted to give you a little more information. Obviously, we've been giving you a lot of information today, about really looking at what are those things that you really need to consider. Of course, we always would like to, let people know that we have career opportunities available. Out on our Career Center at thrivent.com/careers, we do have a number of testimonial videos. So you don't have to just take it from Allie and I. Go ahead and go out there and listen to what our financial representatives have to say. And while you're out there, we also do have a sales leadership section. So, maybe you're looking for that next step to the next level, and if that opportunity isn't available where you are right now, you may be able to bring that experience, bring it over to Thrivent, check out the sales leadership section. And then lastly, Catherine did mention that we do have some more help beyond today, and that is the Find Your Next Career section within our Career Center. As a organization that gives back, we want people to live more generous lives, and sometimes that just starts with, really helping them in finding a new career. So we have a lot of resources out there. If you liked what you heard today from Catherine, we do have 9 different webinars that we conducted this year. They are all taped out there. You can take a look at that. We have the articles and as well as the values in action exercise and so much more. So we do invite you to take a look at our website and see what we can do to help you there. So I just want to conclude here that if we do have any additional questions, we certainly could take those at this time. But I also just want to thank everyone for joining us today, and hopefully that you are able to take some things away from Catherine's presentation as well as ours today. And we sincerely hope that you consider Thrivent Financial when deciding when your next, or where your next career is going to be. So, David, do we have any additional questions we need to address before we sign off today?
We do. Hold on just a moment here, and let me. We had a great question here. This can kind of go for both of you guys here. I'll let you decide on who's the best to answer this. But question is, what if your personal brand, is misread or misunderstood? You don't necessarily get cues or direct feedback from your clients, but you're not getting the results you desire either. What's the best way to address this situation?
Catherine, do you want to dive in on that one first?
Sure, absolutely. I know what that feels like, and although I've gotten a lot better at that, every now and then I still feel that way as well. You'll meet with somebody and you just aren't clicking, and your message isn't resonating with them. Ask. If it's somebody that you are connected to and you're sitting in front of them and you're feeling that disconnect, just ask them. Stop talking and look at them and say, what brought you here today? I'm not quite sure that I'm giving you what you're looking for or that we're going to be the right fit, and take it away. So somebody who I have tremendous respect for, very early in my career when I was really struggling, sat me down and said, Catherine, here's the thing. 30% of people are always going to buy from you. They're going to like you. They're going to like your message. They're going to like who you are. 30% are never going to buy from you. You just are not. You either don't have the product, the service, or the style that's going to resonate with them. It's the 30% in the middle that you need to really focus on figuring out who they are and how to go after them. So if you're feeling a disconnect, it's probably real. Don't assume it, but if you really are sensing it, talk to them, ask them what's going on, and then just understand that sometimes you're not going to be the right fit for people, and that is okay. The sooner you can figure that out and move on and find the people who do want to buy from you, the faster your business will grow.
That's a great answer. I think that the key thing there is just making sure you communicate and ask. That sounds great. You got one more question here, and this is actually geared more towards Gwen and Allison. How many financial advisors are there typically in a Thrivent office or a region? And I guess how do you break your territories out?
Sure, yeah. This is Allie. We don't have a structured region per se. So it's open territory. Anybody could go from Alaska to New York to wherever. Our clients are across the country as well. So as far as a typical office, there is no such thing as a typical office. We have the professional office in communities, but we have teams of upwards of 30 or more representatives in one office, or we have the one-stop Main Street office that could be one advisor in the office. So it's really unique, and I think that's part of the process when you go through selection to make sure that you're looking at the opportunities that are available in the area and the support that you're going to get in those areas. So when we look at Thrivent specifically, we have over 2,500 representatives across the country, and they're all in different scenarios. In the offices I've worked in, the smallest was 3 people, the largest was 40. So it's different, and there's also teaming that can be made to fit each person within those scenarios as well. So I think that could probably answer the question.
That's
and,
great,
Gwen,
yeah.
did you want to fill in on any of that? Or?
No, I'm glad you brought up the teaming, because I know that some folks really would prefer to work as part of a team, and those opportunities are definitely available with Thrivent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, guys. Thank you so much. And it looks like the questions are kind of winding down from now. We've got a few that were kind of similar to some of the other ones that were asked, and we'll get with those offline. So I'd like to thank everybody for a couple of great presentations there. I want to let the audience know this webinar has been recorded, and to keep an eye out for an email. It's going to provide a link to the recorded webinar as well as a link to the resources that were discussed in this presentation. I'd expect that in the next day or so. Please keep an eye out for this. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for their time today. This concludes today's webinar. I'd like to thank everybody again and hope everybody has a great day. You may now exit this webinar by clicking on File and Exit. Goodbye.
Thank you, and have a Merry Christmas.